Everyone, welcome to Raising Vibrations and your assignment today. So in today's video, I'm excited to share with you the exact process that I use when I look at an astrology chart. How do I orientate myself? What type of blueprint do I use and apply to the chart? And how do I really get this evolutionary perspective on the table and bring the depth that I've been talking about throughout this whole entire series? So I'm really excited to share that with you. Now, if you haven't watched the first 3 videos yet, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to ask you to go back and watch them first. There's a lot of information in there that gives context to this video, just like the previous ones. And this is something that I highly recommend that you do before continuing with this. There's a card that will come up there and also a link in the description beneath this video. It's a playlist. And so all you need to do is just click on that. It'll automatically play the videos, and by the time you come to this one, you'll probably have a clearer understanding of what I'm talking about here, okay? All right, so let me show you how and what I do when I look at a chart. How do I orientate myself? And I think it's important for me to share this with you because just like within the previous video, I showed you that if we integrate the why into this experience, we can really gain a level of depth that I think is amazing. But there is a lot more to the process, okay? There's a lot more that needs to be integrated. There's a lot more to think about. And so that's really what I want to show you today as well. Now, traditional astrology doesn't include things like what's the karmic axis, what's the emotional journey of you. And this is a big part of bringing this to the table, okay? All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do when I look at a chart is I'm going to go straight to Pluto, okay? And I'll show you over here just by clicking this over here. So if I click on Pluto, Pluto in the chart is a very important piece, if not one of the most important pieces, simply because it reflects the core of the chart, okay? It reflects the core of the chart. Why? Because Pluto is the unconscious territory that we are navigating in this world, all right? It's the undercurrent. It drives everything. And so the placement of Pluto really amplifies the essence of what the rest of the chart is essentially symbolizing. So by bringing the Pluto dynamic to the table, we're starting to go straight to the core and understand the essence of what the chart's about. This influences the rest of the chart. It gives a meaning to the planets. Okay, so now our next process, the next one that I go to, is what is called the karmic axis. And again, this is an important piece, and I'll show you over here, the karmic axis. And the reason why it's an important piece is because in order for us to get a sense of what's in the undercurrent, okay, in order for us to be able to attach and make sense of what is really happening for us at the core, we need to have a surface personality. We need to have a boat to connect us to the core. So the karmic axis is the south node, the north node, the ruler of the north node, the ruler of the south node. So you can see Mercury here is associated with the south node. Neptune is associated with the north node. And this gives us context. So we have Pluto, and then we have the context in which that Pluto is operating. Think of it as an opportunity to really get specific on how that Pluto is materializing itself. Okay, so the karmic axis is the next go-to for me. Now, from this point onwards, I'm going to start looking at what is called repeating themes. Okay, repeating themes is important. And what repeating themes does is it helps me connect with the symmetry of the chart, the sort of scope in which the planets are communicating with each other. Like if you notice here, there is the planet Chiron or the asteroid Chiron on the south node ruler, right? I can see that Neptune is in a relationship with not only Uranus and Saturn in the chart, but it is also making an opposition, right? It's connecting to that Chiron. So this tells me that the part of this chart has a lot to do with other dimensions, not only just the Mercury, not only just the Neptune. There's something involved here. I can see Mars is on the North Node. So there are extra dimensions that I'm starting to gather. I'm starting to look for a pattern, trying to see if there's something that's clearly emerging. And for me, what I immediately see here is there's a very strong emphasis on the Gemini archetype. There's a very strong emphasis on communication and individuation, right? Individuality. That's because there's a lot of planets in the 11th house. And of course, Uranus is also involved here. So repeating themes, looking at the scope of the chart, seeing if there's a pattern that's emerging. Now, I've gathered a lot of information already and I'm starting to see a pattern emerge. I'm going to start going to look at what is called aspects and phases. Okay. Now, aspects and phases is where we integrate the squiggly lines. But by this time, I've gathered a lot of structure about the chart. So when the squiggly lines come involved, I can start to see, okay, now I see how these planets are really communicating with each other. Aspects and phases is something that is very new to astrology, and particularly through evolutionary astrology. And it's something that I think is a really important tool because it maps out and acknowledges that planets are in relationships with each other. And each planet, depending on the relationship that it has to the other planet, will tell me something unique about that. And it's important because not only does it individuate the chart, as in one person may have this type of relationship with another planet, and this person may have the same planets but different relationship, and they're going to express themselves differently. Like there is a conjunction, but there is also a new phase aspect of the conjunction and a closing phase aspect of a conjunction. So determining these things is very important in being able to extract what is existing there, right? We want the story, we want the pattern, we want to see what's emerging. So aspects and phases brings a whole entire different reality or dimension to this process that really begins to speak to the person individually. Okay? So Pluto, karmic axis, looking at repeating themes, looking at aspects and phases. And another important component is relating and listening. So it's very important for me that when we're having a conversation with whoever it is that is having the chart in front of me, we need to have a dialogue. I need to ask the questions like, why? How does this show up for you? And really listening to the archetypes that are coming from the person. It's a crucial and fundamental aspect of looking at a chart. If you don't have this aspect, it really actually just shows you the map, like the actual map of the chart, but the terrain and how that's emotionally experienced is essential. So looking at and listening and relating is a fundamental aspect of how to do a chart reading and to really see how those planets, those aspects and those repeating themes are really showing up. Because there can be different experiences. Even though the Saturn's in the same place, two different people, two different experiences. And then finally, what I do is I look at the holistic perspective, okay? The holistic perspective. And again, we have the chart here. And so I'm looking at the sun in the 12th house in Cancer. I'm looking at in relation to Mercury conjunct Chiron. I'm also noticing that the moon is not independent in the chart, it's just sitting in the 9th house Taurus. The moon is very much connected and interconnected with the Scorpio ruling the 4th house and the Cancer ruling the 12th, right? There's a looking at the chart holistically and seeing that there is more to the chart than just individual context. So synthesizing this chart would look something along the lines of, this is somebody who seems to be trying to figure out their own individual truth by trying to separate themselves from other people's ideas and to try and individuate their own thinking and be able to find the meaning in things for themselves. The meaning in the things for themselves is the North Node in Pisces, trying to individuate themselves from other people's ideas and perspectives, everything in the 11th house. But there's a kind of wounding that comes along with and a sensitivity to being able to believe that they have an ability to trust themselves, to have faith in themselves. Moon in the 9th house Taurus, can I be assured that my emotional security I can trust in? So this is how we would synthesize this. And as you can see here, you can really begin to bring out the depth by bringing all these layers. So looking at the chart holistically is a very important component to this experience. So of course, there's a lot to learn in this process, and there's many dimensions that need to be included when looking at the chart. And this is how I go about bringing and highlighting and emphasizing the depth that I've been talking about. And of course, in the upcoming course that I'm actually going to be opening registration for, this is what we're going to be learning, right? We're going to be learning how to bring the Pluto aspect, the karmic axis aspect. I'm going to be teaching you how to read charts for people, showing you how to read aspects and phases, which is a really cool feature, especially when you've never implemented it into your own work, and see how you can actually separate your own personal experience from, say, the generic ways in which, you know, how you would see your Mars and Venus as an example. So this is what I'm going to be teaching in the upcoming course. And that's something that you need to look out for if you're interested in this, okay? Now, in the next video, I've got something exciting. We're going to switch it up. We're going to put the theory aside. And what I want to do is bring an actual live experience and story that comes along with how this astrology can be transformational. So I'm really excited to share that story with you as well, okay? All right, my friends, thanks very much for watching. I hope that you got some value from this. I appreciate your attention and have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.